The asteroid field stretched across the view screen like a river of stone. Each chunk of rock tumbled slowly through the endless void. Research vessel Nebula Seeker moved carefully between the larger asteroids, its sensors sweeping the area for anything unusual. Another waste of time, grumbled Officer Morak, his blue scales shifting to a dull gray that reflected his boredom. 3 cycles of scanning space rocks already, and nothing. Professor Tellner ignored the complaint. The tall, thin alien continued studying the sensor readings, 4 of his 6 eyes focused on different screens, while his primary eyes remained fixed on the main view screen. After 50 years as the Commonwealth's leading archaeologist, he had learned that patience was the most valuable tool in his collection. "There is something," he said quietly, tapping a long finger against one of the screens. "Look at this, Cirque. This asteroid is not moving like the others." Mech shrugged his wide shoulders. "Asteroids bump into each other all the time." "No, look at its path. It's too regular." Tellner magnified the image. "And the shape is wrong, asteroids are not this smooth. Pilot, take us closer." The Nebula Seeker changed course, thrusters firing in short bursts as it approached the strange object. As they drew nearer, the true nature of their discovery became clear: it wasn't an asteroid at all. "By the first suns," whispered Tellner, his voice filled with awe. "It's a ship." Floating silently among the asteroids was a vessel unlike any in the Commonwealth database. It was dark gray, with sharp angles and what appeared to be weapon mounts along its hull. Unlike the smooth, curved designs of modern Commonwealth ships, this vessel looked brutal and purposeful. "Run a full scan," ordered Tellner, unable to hide the excitement in his voice. "I want to know everything about it." The science team worked quickly, their instruments probing the mysterious ship. "No power signatures detected," reported Science Officer Laurel, her tentacles dancing across her control panel. "The vessel appears completely dead." "Age estimate?" asked Tellner. "Difficult to be precise," Laurel replied. "But surface degradation suggests at least 3,000 years. 3,000 years? Tellner exclaimed. "That's older than the Commonwealth itself." Tellner nodded slowly. "We may have found a relic from before the Great Joining, perhaps from one of the lost species." "It's big," said Pilot Kren from the front of the bridge. "Almost twice the size of our research vessel," added Mech, pointing to what were clearly weapon mount placements. "Look at those cannons. Whatever race built this, they were fighters." Tellner studied the dead ship with growing excitement. Discoveries like this came once in a lifetime. An intact vessel from an unknown species could reveal countless secrets about the galaxy's past. "Prepare a towing beam," he ordered. "We're taking it back to Research Station Epsilon." "Is that wise?" asked Morak, his scales shifting to a cautious orange. "We know nothing about this vessel. It's been floating dead for thousands of years." Tellner waved a dismissive hand. "What harm could it possibly do now?" 3 days later, the Nebula Seeker arrived at Research Station Epsilon, a massive ring-shaped structure orbiting a gas giant in the Proxima system. The mysterious vessel hung in the station's main research bay, looking out of place among the sleek Commonwealth technology surrounding it. Commander Voss stood before the ancient ship, forearms crossed over his chest in a posture of deep thought. As station director, he had seen many strange artifacts come through Epsilon, but nothing quite like this. "Impressive, isn't it?" said Tellner, joining the commander on the observation deck. "Indeed," Voss replied, his gravelly voice echoing slightly in the large chamber. "Your report mentioned possible weapon systems?" Tellner nodded. "Primitive by our standards, but numerous. This vessel was built for combat." "Any idea who built it?" "None yet," Tellner admitted. "We found no match in our historical databases. It could be from one of the species that disappeared during the Dark Time." Commander Voss stroked one of his facial tendrils thoughtfully. "This could be significant, Professor. If we can learn about its weapons technology, even if primitive, it might give us insights we've lost over time." My thoughts exactly, Telner agreed. I've already assembled a research team to begin studying it immediately. Voss turned to face the archaeologist, all four of his eyes blinking in sequence. The Science Council will be very interested in this discovery. If we can learn enough, it could mean additional funding for the station, and recognition. Telner smiled, revealing his small pointed teeth. I've requested permission to name it. I'm thinking, Telner's Relic has a nice ring to it. Voss made a sound that passed for laughter among his species. Let's see what we learn first, Professor. The next morning, Telner led a team of 12 researchers into the ancient vessel. They had cut an entrance through what appeared to be a cargo hold door, as all other access points remained sealed. Remember, Telner instructed as they entered. Touch nothing without scanning first. This ship is thousands of years old, and we don't know what dangers it might contain. The interior was dark and cold, their lights casting long shadows down the narrow corridors. Unlike the organic-inspired designs of Commonwealth ships, this vessel was all metal and sharp angles. The walls were lined with pipes and conduits, suggesting an emphasis on function over comfort. These markings, said Research Assistant Brill, pointing to symbols etched into a wall panel. They could be some form of writing. Telner examined the strange symbols. Straight lines and curves arranged in patterns that definitely suggested language, but matched nothing in the Commonwealth archives. Document everything, he ordered. We'll try to decipher it later. The team moved deeper into the ship, mapping as they went. They found what appeared to be crew quarters, a mess hall, and numerous storage rooms. Everything was built to a scale similar to Commonwealth standard, suggesting the creators had been roughly the same size as most known species. Professor, called Science Officer Laurel from further down the corridor. You need to see this. Telner hurried to join her. She stood before a massive door with a complex locking mechanism. I believe this is the bridge, she said, her tentacles waving with excitement. It took the team 4 hours to bypass the ancient security measures and force the door open. When it finally slid aside with a grinding sound, they stepped into what was indeed the command center of the vessel. Unlike the utilitarian design of the rest of the ship, the bridge showed signs of importance. The central chair, clearly for the commander, was larger and positioned to view multiple control stations. Various screens and panels surrounded it, all dark and lifeless. Begin power analysis, ordered Telner. I want to know if there's any way to activate these systems without damaging them. As the team spread out across the bridge, Telner approached what appeared to be the main console. His fingers traced the strange symbols etched into its surface. One sequence was repeated several times, UNC Thunderchild. Could be the ship's name, he mused. Back at Research Station Epsilon, Telner reported their findings to Commander Voss. A remarkable vessel, he concluded. Built by an unknown species with technology that is advanced in some ways, primitive in others. And you're certain it's dead? Asked Voss. Completely, Telner assured him. No power signatures whatsoever. It's been floating in that asteroid field for millennia. Voss nodded. Excellent work, Professor. Continue your research. I'll inform the Science Council of our progress. As Telner left the commander's office, he couldn't shake a strange feeling, something about the ancient warship called to him. Perhaps it was just the thrill of discovery, the knowledge that his name would be forever linked to this find. Or perhaps it was something else, something he couldn't quite identify. Little did he know that the dead ship was not as dead as it seemed. Deep within its core, a single system remained active, drawing power from reserves hidden from Commonwealth scanners, a timer that had been counting down for thousands of years, and it had very little time left. 3 hours later, deep within the heart of the Thunderchild's power core, a faint red glow pulsed in time with a hidden timer. Professor Telner had returned that morning with an expanded team to examine the vessel's central systems, but none were aware of the dormant mechanism now stirring to life. Energy readings are off the charts, called out Engineer Dax from the console lining the inner chamber. His voice echoed in the metallic corridor, mingling with the soft hum of the reactor hull. Telner hurried to his side. "Show me." On the display, a circular gauge spun slowly, its needle creeping toward a crimson threshold. The timer's origin was inscrutable, etched in symbols none yet deciphered, but its purpose was clear: at 0, something would happen. "Can we stop it?" whispered Laurel, her tentacles trembling as she adjusted the sensor array. "No," Telner admitted, frowning. "It's drawing power from its own reserves, long-term capacitors sealed beneath layers of shielding. We haven't found a shutdown protocol." A sudden clang resonated through the chamber as a panel above them slid open with a hiss. Bright light flooded in, revealing more of the core's structure: coils of braided alloy, crystalline conduits, and a central chamber beneath a transparent dome. "Stasis pod interface," observed Brill, leaning close to the dome. "This is where the pod's power links to the reactor." "Whatever's coming," Dax said, eyes wide, "it's big." No sooner had he spoken than the red glow flared brighter. Alarms blared throughout the ship, their shrill tones jolting everyone. Emergency lights bathed the corridor in staccato pulses of red and white. "Retreat!" Telner shouted. "Back to the bridge." They sprinted down twisting corridors, the ancient metal floor vibrating beneath their boots. Outside, the bridge doors had sealed shut with a pneumatic hiss, trapping them in darkness until the emergency lights flickered on. Captain Foster, already alert, stood by the main console. "What's happening?" he demanded, voice steady despite the klaxons. "Telner's found an active timer in the core," braced Brill, panting. "It's just triggered the reactor's emergency protocol." Foster's blue eyes narrowed. "Reactor emergency protocol?" "Yeah," replied Dax, bracing against a railing. "Some failsafe built by the original crew, something they wanted to happen after thousands of years." "Then let's see it," Foster said, slapping controls on the holographic display. "Computer, status report." The console flickered to life with a flood of ancient symbols, then translated into a series of crisp English phrases. "Emergency Protocol Delta 7, initiated. Reactor auxiliary output boost, 200%. Primary power redistribution, active. Weapon systems online. Maneuver thruster override, awaken. Estimated systems online, 90%. Recommend, prepare for immediate deployment." A collective gasp filled the bridge. "Weapon systems online," echoed Mech, jaw slack. "But we never scanned those." "Now we will," said Foster, turning back to the view screen. He tapped a command sequence, overriding the bay door controls. With a grinding roar, the massive research bay doors began to open. Outside, the void of space stretched infinitely, but so did the looming shapes of the Scourge warships accelerating toward the station. "Beautiful," Foster muttered, as coolant vents along the hull of the Thunderchild hissed, vapor swirling away in the station's low gravity. "Let's give them something to talk about." Telner, still catching his breath, placed a hand on Foster's arm. "Captain, you saved us." Foster nodded. "Let's get to work." Moments later, the Thunderchild glided free of Research Station Epsilon, her engines flaring with sudden power as she pivoted toward the oncoming threat. The Nebula Seeker, towed by station tugs, followed in escort. On the bridge, Foster gave his orders with measured calm. "Target the lead destroyer. Fire at will." A low thrum built beneath his feet as the AAT cannons charged. Then, in a sudden burst of light, the Thunderchild's weapons unleashed a brilliant beam of antimatter energy that punched through the void, impacting the nearest Scourge destroyer with enough force to crack its shields, and crack its hull. Red warning lights flashed throughout the enemy vessel's bridge, then went dark as the destroyer spun off into the void, trailing debris. "Direct hit," reported Telner, awestruck. "We've never seen anything like it." "Keep it up," replied Foster. "Show them what a relic from the past can do." As the other Scourge ships scrambled to respond, the Thunderchild's countdown mechanism fell silent, its timer mission fulfilled. Now, the ancient warship glowed with renewed life, carving a path of defiance through the darkness. And with Captain Jack Foster at the helm, the Commonwealth's fate, and that of all who sought refuge in Research Station Epsilon, rested on the shoulders of history's last human warrior. The Thunderchild's rail guns thundered in rapid succession, each solid mass slug tearing through the nearest Scourge cruiser's hull like paper. On the bridge, Captain Foster's steely gaze never wavered as he issued orders. Aim for the command module on the second ship, he directed. Disable their coordination systems. Telner, giddily monitoring the readouts, blinked in surprise at the ferocity of the ancient vessel's firepower. "They're falling back," he exclaimed as the second cruiser shuddered under the impact, its engines flickering out of alignment. "Good," Foster replied. "Keep pressing the advantage. Mech, bring us in closer, 20 kilometers and closing." Pilot Kren deftly maneuvered the Thunderchild, her inertial dampeners ensuring the crew felt only a gentle shift in gravity. Through the viewscreen, the ragged Scourge fleet appeared disorganized, battered by the unexpected onslaught of antimatter beams and railgun fire. Below decks, the station's automated defense batteries lay silent, their crews having evacuated under Commander Voss's orders. Now, Chief Engineer Dax monitored the Thunderchild's power flow, diverting extra reserves to the AAT cannons. "Reactor output at 95%, he reported. "We can sustain this rate for another 30 minutes before we need to ease back." Foster nodded. "We'll need every second. Laurel, keep scanning for any hidden Scourge vessels, ambushes are their specialty." Laurel's tentacles flew over her controls. "Detected 3 craft in the asteroid belt, likely cloaked. They're maneuvering to flank us from the station's starboard side." "Not if we get there first," Foster said. "All hands, prepare to intercept. Telner, gather your science team, we may have volunteers for boarding actions if we disable one of those ships and need to retrieve technology." Telner swallowed, a mixture of excitement and dread in his voice. "Understood." The Thunderchild pivoted, thrusters blasting, and cut across the void toward the asteroid field. The Scourge ambushers struck in kind. Streaks of crimson energy flared from hidden positions, tearing shallow gouges in the Thunderchild's hull plating. "Minor hull breaches on decks 4 and 6, Dax reported. "Patching systems engaged. Return fire." Foster barked. "Focus on the nearest emitter." A beam of shimmering energy lanced out, pinpointing the ambush vessel. Its defenses collapsed in seconds, and the cruiser spun wildly before exploding in a halo of debris. The asteroid field danced with shards of rock and metal as the wrecked hull disintegrated. "Nice shot," Mech muttered, staring at the debris field. "Not bad for a 3,000-year-old ship," Telner replied, awe creeping into his tone. Suddenly, a new alarm chimed, this one sharper, more insistent. On the view screen, a dark shape detached itself from the shattered cruiser, a sleek, bioorganic vessel, its surface shifting like living tissue. "Scourge mothership," Laurel said, dread in her voice. "It's deploying fighter swarms." Foster's jaw tightened. "On it. Kren, evasive maneuvers, bring us around the field for a clear firing angle." The Thunderchild twisted through the debris, evading swarms of dart-sized fighters that swarmed like hornets. The AAT cannons opened up, vaporizing dozens in streaks of bright plasma and antimatter residue. "Fighters neutralized," Mech reported. "But the mothership's closing fast." "Then we'll give it a taste of our own medicine," Foster said. He tapped a sequence on his console. "Activate Harbinger system." A low hum filled the bridge as the ancient warship's hidden weapon prepared to fire. The crew exchanged anxious glances. Legend said the Harbinger could decimate entire fleets, but at what cost? "Target parameters locked," Dax confirmed. "Charging in 3, 2, 1. Through the viewscreen, a column of searing white-blue light erupted from the Thunderchild's belly, striking the Scourge mothership squarely. The impact blossomed into a nova of energy, ripping the enemy vessel apart from core to hull in a single, cataclysmic pulse. Silence fell across the bridge. The void beyond the observation port was empty, no sign of the scourge forces that had threatened the station. Telner's 6 eyes widened. You destroyed them all. Foster leaned back. Seems the old girl still has some fight in her. Moments later, the Thunderchild drifted back toward Research Station Epsilon. A single status message appeared on every channel. Threat neutralized. All hands secure. Emergency protocols complete. On the station's command deck, Commander Voss watched the lone warship's triumphant return. His voice trembled with relief as he spoke to the hololink. Professor Telner, Captain Foster, remarkable work. You saved us all. As alarms cleared and the crew began repairs, Telner placed a hand on Foster's shoulder. You've given us a new chapter in history, Captain. I can't begin to imagine what we'll learn from this. Foster offered a tired smile. History can wait, Professor. For today, we simply survive, and that's enough. High above the gas giant, the ancient Thunderchild, once lost to time, had reclaimed her purpose. And for Captain Jack Foster, the last human warrior, the galaxy's future was just beginning. The day of departure dawned in hues of copper and gold as Proxima's gas giant cast shifting light across Research Station Epsilon. In the massive hangar, 5 sleek Commonwealth frigates, refitted with human thrusters from Thunderchild schematics, loomed alongside the ancient warship itself. Crews hustled along gantries, performing final checks. Captain Foster stood on the observation platform of the Thunderchild's docking bay, flanked by Professor Telner, Commander Voss, and High Counselor Thalen. Below, Dax oversaw power coupling tests on the reactor, while Laurel and Brill synchronized the translation matrix to receive any human transmissions. Everything ready? Foster asked, voice calm but steel-lined. Telner glanced at his datapad. Charts loaded, translation banks active, propulsion arrays stable. We're good. Voss nodded, expression solemn. The Commonwealth fleet is assembled. They await your signal. Thalen stepped forward. Captain, once you depart, you will be representing every member of the Commonwealth, and the legacy of humanity. Proceed with caution. Foster inclined his head. Understood. With that, he activated the Thunderchild's launch sequence. A low rumble filled the bay as inertial dampeners engaged and the docking clamps released. The hangar doors slid open to reveal the swirling clouds of Proxima's atmosphere. All stations, report readiness, Foster broadcasted over the fleet channel. One by one, the frigates replied, ready. Thunderchild, engines full, he ordered. Engines flared, sending low-frequency vibrations through the bay. The vessel surged forward, exiting the hangar into the open void as the Commonwealth frigates fell in behind her. Moments later, the task force accelerated on course for the coordinates recovered from the Thunderchild's ancient logs, a system on the fringes of mapped space. 3 days into the journey, the fleet encountered its first anomaly, a derelict space station, half buried in an asteroid cluster. Scans revealed it bore human construction marks, an outpost from the pre-Commonwealth era. Scans indicate long-term atmospheric loss and extensive hull breaches, reported Laurel. But interior environmental pods remain intact. Let's find out what's inside, Foster said, leaning forward. A boarding team comprised of Laurel, Dax, and 2 Commonwealth engineers teleported from an accompanying frigate to the station's airlock. Moments later, they reappeared on the Thunderchild's conference deck carrying a single sealed container. Inside floated a preserved datapod marked with the same UNC insignia. Telner carefully extracted the pod, running scans. Its memory core is undamaged, full of logs and star charts. Brill connected the pod to the translation matrix. As data flowed, holographic projections lit the room with star systems, fleet movements, and personnel records. The most startling entry, a list of human colonies and dates they vanished, centuries apart, but all before the Thunderchild's crew stowed away. Foster's blue eyes hardened. They thought themselves spreading humanity across the stars, but the scourge found them one by one. Commander Voss frowned. Then our mission is clear. We locate any remaining survivors and bring them home. High Counselor Thalen interjected. And ensure these colonies, if found, can defend themselves. We cannot repeat past mistakes. Foster nodded. Agreed. I'll lead the expedition to the nearest colony cluster. Professor Telner, your expertise will be invaluable in deciphering their world names. For days later, the fleet slipped into orbit above a verdant planet labeled New Amaranth in the datapod's logs. Sensor sweeps indicated ruins of cityscapes, but also faint life signs clinging to remote mountain valleys. Life detected at 3 coordinates, Laurel reported. Low population density, likely small enclaves. Prepare descent teams, Foster ordered. On the planet's surface, Thunderchild-backed transports touched down amid overgrown spires of basalt and crystal. Teams fan out to coordinate with Commonwealth ground forces. Foster and Telner led the initial landing party to the largest life sign cluster, a hidden valley where lush jungles swayed beneath twin suns. There, a small village of human descendants greeted them, wary but curious, their attire a blend of ragged military gear and handwoven fabrics. An elder stepped forward, silver-haired and weathered. We have awaited the return of the Thunderchild, she said in fractured but recognizable human common. Foster's breath caught. You speak our tongue. We inherited it, the elder replied. Stories of the captain and his warship gave us hope through the centuries. Telner began recording every word. Your people survived underground after the Scourge attack, he noted. Through your archives, the legend endured. As dusk fell on New Amaranth, a council fire glowed beneath the twin moons. Humans and aliens sat in shared astonishment, weaving histories together for the first time in 3 millennia. Back aboard the Thunderchild, Foster stood on the bridge, gazing at the planet's silhouette. Behind him, the Commonwealth fleet held orbit in quiet vigil. Professor Telner approached. You've given us more than we imagined, a living testament to your people's resilience. Foster allowed himself a small smile. They gave me hope to continue. Our fight against the Scourge is not over, but with allies old and new, we stand a chance. He tapped a command. The Thunderchild's comm panel blinked to life. All units, he said, voice echoing with resolve, prepare to defend New Amaranth. The Scourge may yet return. But together, we will be ready. Outside, the stars glittered like watchful sentinels. The ancient warship and its unexpected crew, human and alien alike, prepared to write the next chapter in a story that had begun long ago, destined now to echo across the galaxy for generations to come.